Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for Valley News Live at 4. Today is primary election day in Minnesota, and people are making their ways to the polls to decide who will make it onto the ballot for the November general election. For a breakdown of some of the big races and what you need to know, we're joined by Valley News team's Justin Betty. Hey Justin.
Hi Courtney, thanks. Well, today polls opened this morning for Minnesota voters to choose who they want to see on the upcoming November ballot, the main races. Most of today's statewide races are essentially formalities, though there is an interesting race in District 1. It includes St. Paul, and it's to replace the late Jim Hagedorn. There was already a special election primary in May, and there'll be a special general election vote in August to see who will hold that seat for a few months. Today's vote in that district is the primary for the full-term election in November. And the field includes former GOP Representative Brad Feinstadt.
It starts with fuel prices, gas prices. It starts with supply chain issues, inflation issues. It's family pocketbook issues.
He faces a challenge from current state rep Jeremy Munson. Former Hormel Foods CEO Jeff Ettinger is the front runner for the DFL side. Again, polls opened at 7 this morning. They close at 8 tonight. You can find out what's on your ballot by checking the VNL News app, and I can bring that up here on the screen here for you, maybe. Yeah, and it's right at the top of your screen here, the top 3 corners, horizontal lines. We have both election results or election information. You can find all the information there. We also have information on the VNL News app. Courtney?
Thanks, Justin. And yeah, it's a good idea to keep that VNL News app handy for your election results and for breaking news right at your fingertips. You can just download it for free. Just search VNL in the News app store today. A historic day as ground was broken to mark the start of construction on one of the largest components of the FM area diversion project. Construction will begin on the 30-mile-long stormwater diversion channel that will route water around the Fargo-Moorhead metro area during major flood events. Area leaders say the project as a whole will provide permanent flood protection to roughly 235,000 people. The FM diversion is funded by a public-private partnership, and it's the first of its kind in the U.S.
So this really is the paradigm for the future. This is the paradigm for large core projects for the future. For large multi-billion-dollar, multi-state projects, this will be the paradigm. You watch and see. And this will be the first one done. And it's a first in a number of ways.
The project is slated to be complete by 2027. Officials say it will protect more than $25 billion in property value, including 70 schools. Let's go now to Hutch for a first look at your weather. Hey, Hutch.
Hey, Courtney, a beautiful day out there today, and it's warmed up as promised here in the Southern Valley, where temperatures are soaring through the 80s. It's a little cooler up north. We have a little bit of a breeze out there, and haze is the only thing we're worried about from the sky tonight. As far as clouds go, not a lot to worry about. Look at the cool pool up north. There is a cool front sagging slowly through the region, keeping temperatures closer to 80 along the northern tier. Down south, though, we're closer to 90 degrees. That includes Fargo down to Oaks, Aberdeen, and Sisseton, with Lakes Country in the mid-80s. This evening. And as mentioned, hardly any clouds to worry about on the satellite. So here's your planner for this evening. Get out and enjoy just a little bit of a breeze. Temperatures staying in those toasty 80s all the way through just before sunset. Then we will slide down into the 70s. Wind direction will be northerly as that cool front will continue to push south. That means cooler weather is in store for your hump day on Wednesday. And it will be a little bit cooler up in the Grand Forks area this evening with some 60s by the time we get ready for bed tonight. We'll have details on that cool down heading our way here in just a few minutes. And we'll look ahead towards our next chance of any precipitation in your forecast, Courtney, here in just a moment.
All right, Hutch, thanks so much. Looking forward to it. Supporters of former U.S. President Donald Trump used words like unacceptable and unconstitutional to describe last night's FBI raid carried out at his Mar-a-Lago home. Agents scoured the home in connection to a Justice Department investigation into how former President Trump handled White House records, some classified. Trump and his family issued statements questioning the motive of the search. Supporters said the search raised red flags on personal freedoms.
We are here to support the Constitution. Everything has to be done in a legal way. We don't want any raids in our homes illegally. Anybody. If they can do it here, they can do it anywhere.
Several investigations into the former president are underway. In February, the National Archives asked the Justice Department to investigate Trump's handling of White House records, saying some of the documents Trump turned over to them had been ripped up and taped back together. And a federal appeals court approved a request that allows the House Ways and Means Committee to obtain former President Trump's tax returns. The decision from the D.C. court is a major defeat for Trump, who has spent years trying to prevent the release of his tax information. Trump lawyers could appeal tax returns, and they could continue to extend the litigation. Another $1 billion worth of U.S. ammunition and military equipment will make its way to Ukraine in the coming weeks. It's the largest single drawdown from U.S. military stockpiles so far. This comes amid increased fighting in the south and east of the country. Charlie DeGatta reports from the front lines of Ukraine's south coast.
We spoke with Major General Dmytro Marchenko in the rubble of the regional government headquarters. No one here needs reminding that Russia still holds the upper hand in heavy weapons. The general told us that for every 100 shells the Russians fire at the city, his forces can respond with only 10. But the Kremlin's forces are running out of precision-guided missiles like the one that destroyed this building in the early days of the war. General Marchenko gave us a long list of weapons being unleashed on the city, from long-range missiles to Soviet-era rockets from the 60s, even firing anti-aircraft munitions at buildings.
And they're using cluster bombs here, too?
Так.
The general credited American-supplied HIMARS for striking weapons depots and severing supply lines far behind Russian front lines.
What difference has the HIMARS weapon system made for the war effort?
It's one of the main factors why we've kept our ground, he said, and started taking advantage on the field. But the Russian onslaught has been relentless. The frontline town of Bakhmut has suffered ferocious bombardment. The shelling of the eastern Donbass region's main water supply has left residents in the city of Sloviansk without water for 2 months, adding to the suffering in cities under siege.
This city comes under nightly bombardment. It was hit again last night and early this morning. Explosions off in the distance. The general told us it happens at least 3 times a day, hitting random civilian targets, even hospitals. Charlie Daggett of CBS News, Mykolaiv, Ukraine.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden will deliver remarks and sign a ratification giving the United States approval for Finland and Sweden to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The Senate overwhelmingly voted in favor of NATO's expansion by a 95-1 vote last week, Wednesday. The two nations in North Europe were propelled into the organization by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Each member government in NATO must approve for new members to join. The U.S. government is making a giant investment in one of the tiniest things, chips. President Biden signed the CHIPS and Science Act today in an effort to boost U.S. competitiveness over China in the semiconductor industry. The $280 billion bill includes subsidized tax credits and funding for research and development. While the investment isn't likely to solve global shortages right away, President Biden says it's a step in the right direction for making America more self-reliant and innovative.
Possibilities. In America, everything is possible. We believe every and anything is possible. It's part of the soul of this country. I mean, it really is. We can channel all our resources. Most of all, we can channel the full talents of all our people into a greater measure of hope and opportunity for our nation and for the world.
Now to a new announcement from the popular social media app Snapchat. This morning, the company is unveiling new parental tools. Senior national correspondent Kate Snow got a preview, and she's here with more.
For millions of teens, Snapchat is the way they communicate with a group of friends. This morning, the company's giving parents a window into that world.
We have a responsibility to make sure teens are safe and healthy on Snapchat.
Nona Faranick-Yadigar is the Director of Platform Policy and Social Impact at Snapchat. Starting today, parents and teens between 13 and 18 can opt in to what they call the Family Center. Both the parent and the teen have to opt into this, right?
Yeah, the parent immediately gets access to the teen's friends list, the people the teen has communicated with over the last 7 days, and new friends that the teen has made as well.
Parents will see the screen names of who their kids are friends with, but not what they're saying to each other. Farahnik Yadigar says it's meant to be like real life.
If your teen has friends over in the basement to play video games, you should know who they're down there playing video games with, but you wouldn't be, sitting in the room listening to their conversation. And so we really wanted to balance, parental insight into their teen's life while really preserving autonomy and privacy for the teen themselves.
I can imagine some parents saying, well, you're actually giving my teen too much privacy. You're weighing their privacy more than my parental need to see what they're doing.
I would disagree with the notion that we're really tilting in one way or the other. And I think what we're really trying to do is bring a real world sensibility into online life. Here you're able to report.
If a parent has concerns about someone their teen is connected to, they can report the account, and Snapchat says it will respond quickly. Snapchat says they've been developing these new tools for more than a year, consulting with parents and safety groups like Protect Young Eyes. Chris McKenna is the founder and dad of 4. What's the headline for you in these new parental tools on Snapchat?
The headline goes like this: great job, it's about time, and there's more to do.
Teens are going to be able to opt into this family center. Do you think they will?
There's the conversation that needs to take place, right? Between parents and young people. I like that feature because I think it forces parents to talk to their kids. If a child says no, okay, that's worthy of a conversation. Why not?
Snapchat has existed since 2012. 10 years. Why didn't you do this sooner?
Family Center has been on the roadmap for a long time. We wanted to be really thoughtful about bringing out tools that would be useful, but also diligent and thoughtful. And I'm really excited to bring them into the world.
Grand Forks Public Health is the first in our area to offer a vaccine for the monkeypox virus. Due to limited amounts, they're starting with those in the high-risk categories first. That includes people who've had close contact with someone who has been diagnosed with monkeypox and people who identify as gay, bisexual, cisgender men who have sex with other men, or those who identify as transgender if they met one of the following criteria: have had multiple sex partners in the last 14 days, attended venues or events where monkeypox spread has been identified, or have had a sexually transmitted infection in the past year. If you meet the criteria, they recommend making an appointment. In the U.S., there is currently a limited supply of the vaccine, although more is expected to come in these upcoming months and weeks. It is a 2-dose vaccine licensed by the FDA. People who get their vaccine at Grand Forks Public Health will have a second dose preserved for them.